the amusing thing then is that here we are talking about Charles Sanders Peirce and incompleteness of knowledge and dealing with that apparent reality and trying to find a sense of guiding apparent knowledge anyway. And there is a sense of that, there's a strand of that kind of thinking and pragmatism from the Charles Sanders Peirce perspective to a degree. Now, what really struck me as even more interesting was this. The phrase that was used, I was reading through the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, and what really struck me, and this further evidence to me of just how life is something. It's funny. It's just something. How I could have this idea in my head, term I used, practical clarificationism, right? To be perfectly blunt with you, that's my own phraseology, doing my own analysis of my philosophical understanding of things, and then to be reading this article and to see attributed to Charles Sanders Peirce this employment of the terms pragmatic clarification. That's damn close to practical clarificationism. So, I mean, I'm just like, whoa, amazing how you can have this sort of mental connection with somebody from quite long ago, over 100 years ago. That's amazing. And that my mentor, he was just so, he didn't give me too much of a introduction or commentary on the topic of pragmatism. Very brief, and just said you should check that out. I mean, he was right on the money, as the expression goes, with his insistence that I check this out. It was like a bullseye with respect to really knowing exactly what to suggest in accordance to where my philosophical thinking is at this time and place. It's just amazing. That's why I say life is something, and when you can have that kind of connection, that intense connection. And again, the thing about how I've been doing my studies of philosophy for a very long time and not to have really had any orientation towards Charles Sanders Peirce. That's just something. Who else will I find as life goes on that just didn't fall into my periphery, so to speak? And also, with respect to just connections, I was watching a video blog. Let's see if I can find it. Cell phone, please don't die just yet. On YouTube. I know you could argue that I could be more prepared, but I actually like a bit of rawness and spontaneity and realness, as opposed to, that's why this isn't being written, because I want to be just straight and direct and pure here. I should be able to go to history, right? I hate when I say like. Why am I not finding history on this? Your channel. Well, I know I subscribe to this guy and I don't want to bore you, which means I can't. Philosophies. Yeah, this guy. For your own edification. I found that I had a number of things in common with this guy, beyond the fact that indeed he amuses me and makes me laugh. What was I watching from him? Let's go to uploads that I was just so amused by. I can't find it, but so one thing he says that struck me is when he says, "Nobody cares about you. Seriously, nobody." That's one of his titles. And I thought, I mean, it was just, that was a thought I was having. And also, I just don't remember which vlog. I guess I'd really have to do some searching here. Yes, how to make a philosophy vlog. If you watch that one, it's funny how, to me, how he touched on things that were just so exactly the same thing on my mind. Even he has this way where he'll quote things or say them with a sort of emphaticness. I do that all the time, and I know other people who do it, but not everybody does it. But it's funny when someone has a mannerism that seems so similar to you. And I believe he was also talking about this interesting experience of just straightforward talking to people and making an art out of it. I just thought, wow, this was one of the most direct and exact connections I've had with somebody who I've never actually yet spoken to or interacted with in any way, shape, or form. And who knows, maybe it turns out that we're not the types to get along, or maybe it turns out we get along rather well. Certainly, he's funnier than I am. I just am not funny. I'm only funny by accident. I've talked about this before. And I'm going to be like my compadre philosophes here and say, it is what it is. So I just thought that was something worth telling you. What was initially supposed to be the first thing that I was going to talk about, but again, the subconscious just interjects and goes its own way sometimes. I wanted to talk to you. I am continuing to research the question of how to create a constructive routine, daily routine, one that is both constructive and healthy and also resonates with me on a personal level, which is a complex thing to do. And I did come across a couple of interesting observations here. And I would start with this. One of the most pressing questions I've had with respect to trying to put together a daily routine is how long should I spend reading each day? Moreover, the one thing I know that I want to read each day is the news. How long do I spend on the news? How much time do I spend venturing beyond the news? For example, reading my philosophy, or venturing into the arts, poetry, or listening to music, or spend time in some sort of other nonfiction text. So that's something I've been looking into, and I did come across this very interesting article on Medium. What I'll do, I don't have the name of the author. That was very awful of me not to have had that. See, the thing is, I don't like to over-prepare. I like to prepare just enough when I do this kind of extemporaneous liberal talking as opposed to writing. I like to have just enough so that I know what I want to talk about and just kind of go. I don't want to inundate myself with so many details that it ends up just being a script. I do like the naturalness that goes beyond scripting and is just more spontaneous. I My exception being when I want to make a staunchly political comment. I do like it to be very something that I meditate on a little bit and do spend time asking myself, are these the exact words I want to use? Again, usually because I want to be persuasive or significantly analytical beyond the more informal talk, I believe. So I don't have his name, but I can link it to you. But he was talking about this concept of fractal reading and this idea of, well, it's not as if you have to just say, okay, I'm going to read only news, or I'm going to read just this book for X amount of time. But he talks about how you can have a number, I don't know if you can see it here, but you can have a number of books and texts and even other multimedia supplements to these texts and just sort of go item to item as it suits your thought process and your personal approach to synthesizing information based on what it is you're contemplating and wanting to know and what you're curious about. And I thought, wow, that's actually a really interesting, profound thing. Also, it's one of those interesting things in that it is probably something I've not realized is an approach I've actually taken in the past without thinking this is the approach I'm taking in the past. So that's something I would want, if you're interested in reading and contemplating, how long might you want to read or how might you want to approach your daily reading? You may want to consider this concept of fractal reading. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today because I don't want to overdo these videos, these video diary entries. Save some for a rainy day, as the expression might go, right? So I would cut it off here and say, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. I anticipate chatting with you tomorrow. I thought about, it's just amazing. Now I could just really keep going. But yeah, I'm not going to. I will chat with you later. Whatever time of the day it is for you, have a fantastic day. Bye.